What's going on, everybody? Got another tutorial underway for you here. This is the Xbox 360 wireless motherboard here, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be changing the LED lights, and each one of those is right here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. This one can be a little more difficult because it's a little harder to get in there. You've got less room. You've also got some components that are kind of close, like all these right here. So if you're not careful, you don't have a steady hand, you can end up desoldering it and messing it up. So you do have to be careful here. One thing I will tell you is obviously you'll need a soldering iron. You'll need some solder. You'll need some sort of stuff to manage the LEDs. I use these, which are reverse pliers. These are perfect for holding those little LEDs. I'm so happy I found these such a long time ago. They've made this sort of job so much easier. And of course you'll need the LED lights. If you're not sure where to get the LED lights, I'm going to put a link in my description where you can pick those up at. There are quite a few different colors you can choose from, and it's a pretty good price, so definitely check that out. They're from Tinker Mods. So let's go ahead and get this started here. First thing we're going to do is we're going to have to desolder these four. Once we get to where we're going to solder the new ones on, I'll tell you how to make sure you put them on the correct way. And yeah, that's what we'll do. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our soldering iron and we're going to put some solder on the soldering iron. You do need to have some solder on there so that you can easily desolder these. And you're just going to rub that solder around, get it around on those contacts for each of these LEDs, and then pop it right off. It's probably not the easiest thing for you to see. This is kind of a confined area, but I'm going to do the best I can here. Go ahead and get some more solder on there and go to the next one. Like I said, you just want to dab it. If you get on both sides evenly, it should come off pretty simply. You can do it without the solder, I guess, but I mean, what's the point? You're going to have solder to put the new ones on, and it's going to make it a lot easier to get these old ones off. Alright, there's that one. And each time I'm done with one, I'm kind of going back and just melting a little bit of the extra solder off. You don't want extra on there because it can make it hard to line up whenever you put the new ones on. So just do your best to keep it kind of cleaned up and make your job a lot easier. And there's the last one. Clean that one up there. Alright. Now, word to the wise when you're dealing with these little small LEDs. They're easy to lose, so don't take them all out at once. I can almost guarantee you that you'll end up with a lost one. So what I'll do is I'll just peel this as I go, kind of peel that little plastic off. I'll drop it right on here. Then what we're going to do is we're going to get it with these pliers, reverse pliers. And then we're going to look at the bottom here. Hopefully, no, there's no way you're going to be able to tell. Most of the time it's a triangle, but usually the way it works is one side of the LED has some sort of green marking. One end is going to have a wider mark, the other end is going to have the narrow mark. Typically they're going to be arrows. The wider mark is the positive connection, and where the smaller mark is, it's going to be the negative connection. Now these don't actually have the triangle. It's kind of like a long line on one side and a little kind of short, almost dot on the other side. The long line, again, is where the positive side is, and that little dot part is where the negative side is. So let me get this better attached here. Alright, so what we got to do is we got to make sure and line these up. Now, I'm going to do this one right here, which is the lower left hand, D3 as it's labeled on this motherboard. Get this lined up a little bit better. Make sure I've got the markings correct here. Alright. So the bigger line is going to go on the bottom solder joint here. So there's a solder joint on this side, and there's a solder joint on this side. The bigger line, or the bigger side of the triangle, is going to go on this side. So we line it up now, and we just make sure we've got some space on either side. We just hit it with a little solder. It doesn't take a lot. Just give it enough time to kind of cure just a little bit. And then you're going to go back and do the second side. And there's that one. Now after each one, give it a few seconds and then come back and kind of wiggle it. I know you're probably worried about breaking it and stuff, but you need to wiggle it to make sure it's on there really well. Kind of push on it from each side, kind of like I'm doing. And if it doesn't wiggle, doesn't move around, then you've got a good solid connection, and it'll probably take a lot of strength before it'd ever break off. So let's move on to the next one here. Alright, find our lines here. Now with this one, it goes in a rotate. It rotates equally. So if you remember, we put the positive, or the side with the big line, or the big side of the triangle, we put that on this side. So now if we were to just take this LED and rotate it up here, and all we would do is just kind of move it to where it's on this one, it's going to be in the same position as the other one. So what we're going to do is we're just going to line all that up again. First I'm going to have to go from the other side here, because this one's these two top ones are the harder ones to get to, because you've got the port right there. Alright. We're just going to line it up, get some solder ready. Alright, looks like I got that one on there. I'm going to come back and do the other side now. It's always good to have fresh solder on each of them. The fresher the solder, the better of a chance you'll have to have, a good solid connection. Just like that. We're going to do our little check here to make sure it's working well and not moving, which it isn't. So that's good on that one. Now we're going to move on to this one. Now, same concept. You just kind of, if you were just taking that LED and rotating it around, it'll be in the same position. Alright, so I need to flip this around here. Make sure I'm holding it in the right place. And I'll double check just to make sure, and that looks good. So I'm going to get my solder. And I didn't quite get it there. Alright, there's that one. I'm going to come back and hit this other side. Alright, now I'll check this one as well. Looks good, nice and strong. So we'll do the last one now. Same exact concept as before, just like you were taking the one you just did and moving it around to the next spot. So what we'll do here is make sure we get this lined up correctly. Alright, get our solder. This one can be tricky too, because you got to be careful, because this is probably the easiest one to accidentally mess up one of these components right over here, so you do have to be careful. I can't quite seem to get in there. There we go. But it's rotated too much, so I've got to desolder it and move it just slightly. That looks pretty good right there. Come in and get this other side. And that looks like it's good. I'll let that test this out too. Yep, that looks good. Alright, so there's all of them. And that's all there is to it. I may have made it look a little easier than it's going to be for you, especially if it's your first time. It's not going to be easy whatsoever. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Make sure to like and subscribe. I've got a lot of other modding tutorials, modding showcases, just a lot of other stuff that I do with video games and video game consoles. So definitely subscribe. You won't be disappointed with it. And until next time, guys.